sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live to talk some bowl mania. We got a bunch of SEC and Big Ten matchups in the bowl games, so I know T1 is really going to love that because right now the Big Ten, I believe, might be either 6-1 or 6-0. I can't remember who won that game last night because I fell asleep on USC and TCU, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Also got a second round matchup in the college football playoffs with the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Miami Hurricanes. That should be a really, really interesting matchup. I'm here this morning with my man S.E.C. Sean. This morning, how you feeling? You on mute, Sean.
Forgot to hit the mute button. You know me. Feeling good. Took a little vacation this week. TCU won that game last night in overtime, by the way.
Oh, okay.
30-27. Pretty good game. Don't worry, I fell asleep too. But I got up this morning and hit ESPN and checked the score. Pretty impressive showing by that kid making his first start for TCU. Of course, I mean, he's got experience in the SEC because he was a quarterback at Vanderbilt. So, pretty good, though. Hope everybody's doing good. I know got some funky weather out there, so, everybody need to stay warm.
Definitely, yeah.
We also got our man Mossberg of Level Up Sports 10, who did a fabulous interview last week. If you didn't get a chance to catch that last Wednesday, go back and check out that interview he did with Gage Brown. That was an awesome interview. Welcome to the show, my man Mossberg. How you feeling?
Man, appreciate that, man. Feeling pretty good, man. Appreciate you having me. Good to see SEC Sean up there. And I don't know if I'm going to pull a one-take Zay and doze off a little if I hit my screen, but I'm feeling good. A little tired from the shift last night, right into what we do, but it's nothing better to do but talk about this big game. Thankful to see another day as we go into this new year. Happy New Year Eve to you guys and all the fans out there as well, man. We appreciate you all tuning in.
Yeah, and, go ahead, Sean.
Let me throw this out. I know anybody that tried to watch my series on NASCAR for beginners last night, I apologize to everybody. I did not realize the internet was that bad. I will be re-recording that. Any of the guys on the channel that watch this or hear this, if they want to go in and delete that video from their stream, just do it. I'm going to redo that stream when I'm sure the internet's up and running better. So just wanted to let everybody know I apologize because I tried to rewatch it just to see how bad it was brutal.
Yeah, I did also this morning, SEC Sean, and yeah, it wasn't to the standard that you want it to be. So I'm gonna probably erase it as well and then just pick up the new one that you do. But I appreciate you catching that though. Because we definitely want to give all the people the best content we possibly can. And we'll redo that later on. Well, S.E. Sean will do that later on today so that'll be a good move. Let's talk, before we get into today's games, let's talk a little bit about what we saw yesterday out of TCU and USC, and also what we saw out of Tennessee and Illinois yesterday. What was your thoughts on those two matchups? Did you see any bright spots from either of those four teams that got you looking pretty optimistic about them in 2026?
I didn't get a glimpse. I was actually asleep, napping for work for the Illinois-Tennessee game, but I did get a little glimpse, like SEC Sean said, about the quarterback for TCU. I mean, if he got, a few years left, I didn't really look into that. I think TCU would be good with the transfer. Say it again, SEC Sean. You said this is last year.
He's done. He's done.
But I would also say, just with that, I was going to say just to see how TCU play, having a quarterback like Hoover going to portal, coming out playing against a prominent team like USC. You got the Big 12, Big Ten, and Big Ten came into this undefeated. And as good as USC is, we all had our thoughts about them as the season started. But as the season progressed, we see how good of a team they were. And TCU, hats off to them, getting a big overtime win with the team, with the quarterback that came in. And like you said, from that experience at Vanderbilt, I think you could see some of that SEC play part late in this game, to propel them to overtime as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Tennessee and Illinois, I've watched a little bit of it. I don't know. I mean, this is going to sound bad being that I'm an SEC guy. I just don't put a lot of stock into bowl results nowadays. Too many players opt out. You know, I just I don't put a lot of stock into it. I know that sounds bad being, like I said, an SEC guy, because the SEC's bowl record right now is terrible. But that's not why. I mean, I've been this way for a couple years with these bowls. Just like we'll get into it more when we get into one of the games today. Um, so and Tennessee wasn't really all that anyway. I've said that all along in when we were talking about in the previous podcast during the season about them being ranked and how they shouldn't be ranked. So I don't think Tennessee was all that anyway. TCU and USC. I'm telling you what, USC is going to be scary next year. USC is going, if they can figure out the defense next year, USC is going to be nasty. They're scary. The rest of the Big Ten needs to probably be on notice starting now. That running back is a walk-on, King Miller.
Yeah, he's a beast, man.
He's a true freshman walk-on, I believe. I know he's a walk-on, but I think he's a true freshman also. Dude, walk-ons don't do that right away. That's just not very often that you see that from a walk-on. So USC is going to be a problem, but I give props to TCU. They did what they needed to do. Handled business, came back and won. I'll tell you, a game that was real interesting that you didn't even mention, Robert, was that Louisiana Tech and Coastal Carolina game.
Yeah, I was watching that game, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's crazy in how the world, evolves, because the interview I did with Jess Lord Boateng, if we all can remember that, I actually got into the text and text him. Shout out to Jess Lord. I appreciate that interview for the conversation with Mossberg as well. Even you sending me a text back, during that game, and I was like, man, this game is going. Look like they catching a stride. He said, yep, the offense is, picked it up, in the second half. And watching that game just to see the talent that we really do have, throughout college football, I think it's an excellent thing, and seeing some of these kids, even though they may want to go to a Alabama, Ohio State, Miami, Georgia, schools like that, still to perform at schools like a Coastal Carolina, Louisiana Tech, as you see, is great schools as well.
Well, and that's the deal is you get these. Oh, we got blocks. Got my granddaughter today. She brought me a bowl of blocks. Thank you. It was crazy. I was watching it. It was 14-3, and it was just like Louisiana Tech could do nothing on offense, and then all of a sudden it just clicked.
Yeah.
And they took off. It was a pretty interesting game, but people need to remember, with all these portals and transfers and stuff, they whatchamacallit, these kids that go to like Bama, Ohio State, A&M, Texas, that don't play, that transfer, they wind up at those schools.
Yeah.
Well, if any of those big top four, power schools recruits these kids, there's obviously talent on that kid. And then he winds up with all that talent at a smaller program, nothing to take away from the smaller programs. But the dude's probably going to be a superstar against that level of competition, where he wasn't even playing against the Big Ten, SEC type powers.
Right. Correct. Great
Yeah,
point.
I caught a glimpse of both of those games. And I don't take a whole lot of stock in bowl season either nowadays outside of the college football playoffs because we already know the dynamic of how those college football bowl games go now with people opting out and all that. So, I don't take a whole lot of stock in it, but what I do try to watch for in those games is the players who do play in this game that we know will be returning the following season. Have you seen any growth out of them in the bowl game from what you saw from them during the season? And if you didn't get to see much from them during the season, how excited you can get about them going into the 2026 season? And I think we saw some good stuff out of some of the players, but you also want to see how the style of play has changed in the games with teams during the bowl season. And I was watching the Tennessee and Illinois game, and Illinois stuck to the fact that, listen, we're going to run the football and we're going to be physical in the trenches. And you saw that out of them yesterday against Tennessee. But you would think that Tennessee understands, listen, Illinois is going to run the football.
Yeah.
What do we need to do physicality wise to slow down this run game? You can't let them have that last drive on you and they just getting all kinds of fourth downs running the football. You know what I'm saying? And then they jump off sides on the one and make it a 4th and 1, which was horrible on their part. No discipline right there. So you look for that kind of stuff, man, to see what up and coming players are going to be able to perform in 2026 for those teams. And I like the way Illinois stuck to their script. They run the football and they let Altmaier throw the ball here and there whenever they need to get a long distance third down or something like that. But they play really physical like we see them play all season. So I like that out of Illinois. As far as the USC game, me and Parlay Poe is in the chat. Post game is in the chat as well.
Good, fellas.
We talk a lot about USC, and this has been ever since Lincoln Riley has been there, which has been what, almost 4 years?
Yeah.
They still haven't fixed that defense. Like, what is going on with USC to the point? And I know it's just a bowl game, so I'm not putting a whole lot of stock in the bowl game, but I am putting a lot of stock in the fact that for 4 years we have not seen Lincoln Riley and that USC defense get to where it needs to be. And we know that there's a lot of talent out there in Southern California, in California on the West Coast, period. That why is this off their defense still struggling, even though their offense has been really, really good? When is he going to fix that thing? And I think if I was him, I would go ahead and call Pete Kwiatkowski and say, listen, we need a defensive coordinator who can help us here on the West Coast. He did a bang-up job at Washington when he was there. He did a really good job at Texas. It's just the thing at Texas was he was just giving up way too many yards on the back end. He wasn't able to mesh his back end with his front end. I will call Pete Kwiatkowski because he wants to go back to the West Coast and get him as my defensive coordinator. Now, I don't know who he got to let go to do that, but he need to make it happen because if he doesn't, I'm telling you right now, Oregon's going to pick him up.
Man,
Oregon's going to get him. So I would strongly suggest that they go ahead, Lincoln Riley, and get PK because they need to get that defense together. Because I agree with you, USC, Sean. Offensively, USC is going to be a problem. Defensively is where their issue is going to be. Are they ready to handle the physicality of the run game that we know is going to take place in the Big Ten?
That's from so far what it seems, I would say no. But making that higher, I think you could say yes. If they make that higher. I think when you talk about USC and you think of them defensively, what's the one player that really stands out to you that you could think about from USC in the last few years, within itself? So we know when it comes to defense, it's normally a whole team, effort, and you have players that you'll look at throughout the season as it progressed. But that's a great question. As of now, I don't think they can hang with the trenches of the Big Ten, which is not good moving forward. But if they make this hire, I think making this hire could bring in a linebacker, that could bring in a defensive end to kind of change the culture in the defensive mindset up front. That's something that has to happen fast, because if it don't, I think it could get ugly in the trenches for USC for years to come, and that's not a good sign. Good to see you as well, Parlay Poe and Post Game, man. Always good to see y'all tuning in as well.
Yeah, I believe Oregon definitely is losing their defensive coordinator. Uh, I don't know if you're talking about both of them post game or if you're just talking about Oregon, but I believe Oregon is definitely losing their defensive coordinator. So I'm quite sure he's going to give Pete Kwiatkowski a call because he really wants to go back to the West Coast and coach out there. And we also got news that Ryan Williams is saying that he's coming back to Alabama. That was a big question that we had a couple of streams ago. What is the verdict going to be with Ryan Williams? The fact that he has not had the season that we expected him to have, way too many drops, hasn't really been used well in their offense, and he only had, I think, one catch last week. And some other commentators from some other channels and even from national television are saying that Ryan Williams, they were concerned about if he was going to come back or not as well. But he did say that he's going to come back to Alabama. Well, I guess we just have to wait and see after the transfer portal window is closed if that is really the case. And postgame said USC is also losing their defensive coordinator. So Pete Kwiatkowski, you better be on your way. You're exactly right, Parlay Paul. He cannot make the catches in traffic. He's really not a natural pass catcher like I thought he was. Because whenever he gets in some traffic, he gets a little bit timid. But he got to get his concentration together so that way he can make those catches in traffic. Because he's gonna need to do that, especially if he's gonna be an NFL wide receiver. Otherwise, he won't be there long. Yeah. That's for sure.
Real quick, is that static on your end? Do you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear it on my end.
See, I hear it when you talk.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, it's a little choppy, SEC, Sean.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it was I don't know if it's mine because I hear massive static when both of y'all talk.
Just go out and come back in.
Yeah,
it might reset it.
Okay. Well, Mossberg, let's look at this first game that's up today at noon. We got number 23 Iowa versus number 14 Vanderbilt. Of course, that game is at noon. Let me know what you think about that matchup and how it's looking for you on your end. Let me see if I can fix this thing real quick.
For me, in this matchup, for myself, this is actually a pretty good game. I think we're looking at two teams that are very, very hungry for a win. Two very, well coached teams, and I think throughout this season they were both right there, at playoffs edge. So I think we're gonna get a playoff type matchup in this game today. I think this would be that style of game. I'm gonna go Vanderbilt's way. When you have a quarterback like Pavia, who's been there, who's done this for years, I'm gonna take Vanderbilt in this one. It's gonna be a close game. I think Iowa could definitely be the team to play that great defense, but I definitely will go with Vanderbilt for the win in this one. Parlay Poe.
What's your thoughts on this matchup between 23 Iowa and 14 Vanderbilt, SEC, Sean?
Iowa's got a killer defense, but I think Pavia's got something to prove. I know Stowers isn't playing in this game, but I think Diego Papi is going to try to make a statement. I think Vanderbilt is probably going to beat Iowa. No score prediction on it, but I think they win. I think Pavia has a game though. But we're gonna see what happens. Vanderbilt's defense hasn't been great all year, so we'll see. Iowa's not known for their offense either, though. So um, I think it's a strength on strength is Vandy's offense versus Iowa's defense. But like I said, I think Pavia's got something to prove. I think he's gonna just ball out today. I think Vanderbilt wins.
Yeah, if there's one dude in college football who in a meaningless bowl game is going to go out there and give 1,000,000%, is Diego Pavia. I think that Iowa defense is going to give him some challenges though, especially if he doesn't have that tight end with him today. Um, and then their defense isn't the greatest. They don't tackle that well. So I'm thinking that the physicality of Iowa might be able to run the football and keep the ball away from Pavia. I want to see him be able to go out there and light it up though, on his last time out here, because I don't think they're going to grant him another year of eligibility. But I'm anxious to see this game though, to see if Iowa's defense can slow down Pavia, and can their offense, Iowa's offense that is, can it keep the ball away from Diego Pavia running the football? Because I think the physicality of Iowa might be the difference in this game to really make this a lower scoring game. Because Pavia want to drop 40 bomb on you, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do that today. But I'm really looking forward to this matchup because I think it's a good matchup of team strengths against the other team's strengths. Even though Iowa's offense isn't that good, I think they can run the ball and be physical in this one.
Agree.
Yeah, and Parlay Poe was going with Iowa as well. I think that this is a game that Iowa can definitely win because they're going to be much more physical, and they're not going to abandon what they do. They're going to stick with what their game plan is, and that's usually what they do week in and week out.
And they got that nice linebacker too. So I think Pavia, but yeah, this Iowa team can win. They definitely can win it.
Yeah. What do y'all think about Arizona State versus Duke? What are y'all looking forward to in this game? We know they're not going to be playing with Sam Levitt in this game. We'll get a good chance to look at their backup quarterback a little bit more, who is possibly going to be their starter next year. They signed their coach to an extension. Maybe Sam Levitt won't leave. We'll have to wait and see because the portal opens up in a couple of days. What's your thoughts on this matchup?
I think losing Levitt is going to be a big problem for Arizona State. I know backup, whatever's got talent and all that, but it's not that experience level. I think Duke's come on with their offense. I think Duke's offense is pretty crazy. I like the way they've been playing at the end of the season here. Winning the ACC. Duke may feel snubbed, feeling like even though they won the ACC, they should have got into the playoff as the ACC champion. Last year they would have. They didn't this year. I think Duke comes out and wins this game. Pretty close game. I expect it to be a really entertaining bowl game, but I think Duke wins it. I think their quarterback makes a play or two at the end. So that's all. Give me Duke.
Man, as I am an ACC guy, I'm going with Duke. I picked Arizona State earlier to win the Big 12, but knowing they having issues with Levitt, not knowing if he's going to transfer, of course, I don't think he's going to play in this game. Don't know if he's staying. I want to see some Cameron Crazies out there for this Duke Blue Devils football team. Let's have a sighting of the Cameron Crazies in El Paso for this bowl game. Please, if you hear me, show up for the Blue Devils. Duke win, and they keep marching towards they lost 2, they won 3, got snubbed out the playoff, won the ACC championship. Duke is going to bring the mob out, and they win in a big game today, and they set it off for the entrance into the 26th season with a big win to start the new year against this Arizona State Sun Devils team this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm going Duke as well. If nothing else, Duke is going to play some really good defense because they got a defensive-minded head coach
Yeah.
who is a real good defensive mind. So I'm thinking that without Sam Levitt, and that Duke defense is going to be able to slow down whoever they put at the quarterback position for Arizona State. So I'm definitely going with Duke. And I like Duke's quarterback too. I mean, he can make some plays, uh, running and throwing. So I
Yeah.
think Duke's going to win this game. It's going to be a very, very interesting matchup because I really like Arizona State's coach, a young guy who's really innovative, who's really motivating. And if he has time to plan for you, he can scheme up some things defensively as well. But I think Duke wins a really, really close game. It's going to be a really nice matchup. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be one of those games where you watch it and be bored. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting matchup, even though they're not two teams that you would normally want to sit in front of a television to watch. And that game will be played at 2 p.m. We also got our man Jet Life in the chat as well, who's also picked Iowa and also picked Duke. So we almost got a clean sweep on Duke. Let's see if anybody else picked Duke in this chat.
Sweet.
He said Mensa.
Parlay Poe, who you going with? In the
said
East?
Mensa is ACC's best quarterback for the next few years.
Well, he's probably
How you feel about that, Mossberg?
well, with the portal opening, that's hard to say. But he's probably the best returning that's on the team right now.
Nah, I honestly can't deny what he's saying, man. This Mensa kid, I know what we have in Florida State coming in. They got to prove themselves. It's going to take a few years. This kid Mensa is proving himself. If you look at his season this year, what he's done with this team led them to an ACC championship. Quiet as kept has had a better season than some of those guys in the SEC. And we know that dual threat quarterbacks that they talk about over there in the Norris Sellers, and it's another one, I can't remember his name, but I think Mensa needs to be recognized in this next few years. As Parlay Post said, I'm glad he mentioned that, but hands down, I think he will be. If he stays at Duke and he stays in the ACC, if the portal is kind to these Duke Blue Devils, Duke could be in the playoffs next year. I know it's a tough stretch, and I know I say some wild predictions. I said Carolina would be in the playoffs and possibly win the division on the NFL side. So my preseason is if Duke can get some portal luck and things shaking their way, they can get in the playoff next year. Wild prediction, and it's a bold one.
Yeah, let's move on to our next matchup. We got number 18, Michigan versus number 13, Texas at 3 p.m. today. This is probably going to be one of those games where both teams are just trying to see what they got going into 2026, taking advantage of the 15 practices that they got. I don't think either one of these teams are expecting a whole lot in terms of going out there and trying. I mean, of course, they want to win the game, but I don't think that's their biggest concern. Their biggest concern is trying to get some guys some playing time going into 2026, in my opinion. What's y'all's thoughts on this matchup, and how do y'all see it going?
You got it. You got it, SEC, Sean. You can start it.
This game here, I don't have any idea, man. Of course, up here, I'm going to hear a bunch of Michigan. I don't see Michigan winning this game at all. Then again, I turn around and I look at this game and I'm realizing who does Texas even have playing? Your receivers are gone, all your running backs are gone. What are we going to have on the side? Who's playing? Michigan, you know, I guess I could see Michigan springing the upset here. I guess you could call it an upset. But that's, do these kids that have the new coach that's going to be watching them, the younger kids are going to try to put on a show to show that we deserve to be here. So I could see this game swinging any way. I'm going to lean Texas in this game. And most of y'all that know me know I do not pick Texas to win games. Um, but I'm going to go with Texas in this game. I just think that Arch Manning has a little more experience and he makes a couple more plays in that Texas, depending on who plays in that Texas secondary and how they tackle. I think will determine this game.
Yeah, my question: who's playing in this game? Both sides of the ball. If you have the teams that played on both sides the last game of the season, I definitely think this is going to be a great game. Actually, me personally, when I seen this matchup, I thought this was the best bowl game we'll have outside of the playoff. I think you're gonna actually see the opposite of what we think. I think Michigan and Texas is gonna come out and show down. I think this is going to be one of them kick back. You should have a barbecue grill going right now. Tito's in your cup, parlay po, getting ready for the 3 p.m. showdown. Because I think Arch and Underwood is going to give us a show. If Arch and Underwood is playing in today's game, I think we're about to see a show. And I remember the comparisons when I made Julian, Arch, Underwood. You could look at these three, and right now, it seems like Julian has the edge in the way that his production is. And I mean, it's a lot of things that happen with that, but I'm going to go Texas in this game. I'm going Texas. I just think if you have those teams playing with the players that they played with the last game, Texas comes out on top.
Yeah, I'm very interested in just seeing what Steve Sarkisian has been able to manage with the fact that he got 4 running backs who decided they're going to hit the portal. 2 of which are his main 2 running backs, being Trey Wisner and Cedric Baxter. The other 2 was already gone from the program during mid-season. So I'm anxious to see what James Simon is going to be able to do. I'm anxious to see what Christian Clark is going to be able to do at the running back position. But also, super athlete Michael Terry is going to be playing some running back as well. I want to be able to see what this young man can do in this game against Michigan, we already know that Michigan has a really good front seven. And they got some guys who decided to, excuse me, who decided to opt out, especially I think both of their bookends might have opted out and maybe a defensive tackle. So I'm anxious to see what Texas is going to be able to do with Dylan McCutcheon playing in the slot, if he's going to get a lot of run there, and what Arch Manning is going to be able to do in this game in terms of managing the football game, because I'm quite sure Michigan's defensive coordinator is going to give him a whole lot of different looks and try to get his timing off and keep him from being able to stay in that pocket and just set his feet and find wide receivers. And on the offensive side of the ball, though, for Michigan, I know they're going to – I wouldn't be surprised if they played 13 personnel the majority of the game and just run the football a lot. I think that's probably what they expect to do. I would like to see them do that because I want to see Texas work on, especially guys like Colin Simmons, and then be able to face a team that's going to stick to the run and run the football a lot, so that those guys can get that preparation going into the next year in the SEC. So I'm anxious to see that part of it. And then, of course, Texas has 7 defensive starters who are not going to be playing in this game. They either opted out their transfer or they are hitting the transfer portal or they're going to the NFL. So that's going to be interesting to see what is Nansen going to be able to do with the defense, playing all non-starters at the linebacker position, playing a guy at the defensive end position who is a true freshman, playing some corners who are true freshmen, some safeties who are true freshmen. Just being able to see all those guys get some action, I'm going to be looking at that. Do I want Texas to win the game? Of course. I want to be able to say Texas won their last game. But I'm not that much concerned about that as much as I am seeing how well the players who hadn't had the opportunity to play, how well they play in this opportunity that they're about to get, and how much they took advantage of the 15 practices that they got. I'm hoping that Texas wins this game. I think it's definitely a winnable game for Texas, but it's also a winnable game for Michigan as well. So I'm anxious to see this game. I'll be glued into it at 3:00, and I probably will not move away from the TV until that game is over.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we got in the chat real quick. He said, Parlay Post said only 2 previous staffers are returning for Michigan. Wow. That is very interesting. Parlay Post, if you could in the chat, tell us how you feel about the hiring of Cal Whittingham. Was that a guy that you were okay with them hiring as their new head coach? If you could in the chat, please. Yeah, SEC Sean, the internet is just a little bit out of whack today. Might just be that weather, man. Might just be the weather. Normally it's not like that.
Right.
What's your thoughts on Nebraska versus number 15 Utah? And is Nebraska? Well, they probably won't, but should Nebraska be looking to go in a different direction coaching wise?
Man, isn't this the coach that actually brought Raiola in? Wow. And he's leaving. That's a great question. I think his time may be up because he wanted to change the program with having him as the center of the quarterback. But respectively, I think they give him this year to try to figure out, see if he could possibly bounce back and turn some heads with a possibility of something happening on the portal side. You just don't know. But I feel that Utah definitely is going to put up a fight. And when I say fight, they're going to throw blows left, right. They might even have a little bitty combo. I just don't think Nebraska has anything for this Utah team today. What's your thoughts on this one, SEC, Sean? Not even close. He said, I'm going with Utah, and it's not even close.
Yeah. That's what I'm going with. I got, Utah stud D end isn't playing either, as far as I know. I know he's entering the portal. But yeah, I mean, Nebraska's got nothing. I think Utah rolls. I think Utah runs them out of the.
Agree.
Yeah, I like Utah in this matchup too, man. I really don't. Man, Nebraska, man, I'm just so disappointed in them, man. I just think that they had opportunities to try to make a name for themselves in the Big Ten, at least, especially these last couple of years. And they just didn't do it, man. And I'm like, maybe you need to get a new, because Nebraska is not a easy place to recruit to. Outside of them being in the Big Ten, what else is there that will make a player want to go and play at Nebraska unless they have some award-winning coach? And I think that they don't have either, even though their coach is a good coach. I just don't feel like he's going to be able to do the things he needs to do at Nebraska in order to make them relevant, especially not in the Big Ten when you have teams like Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, USC on the come up. It's going to be hard to get over top of those 5 or 6 teams uh, when you aren't able to recruit at the level that you want to. You get a Dylan Raiola, who was considered one of the top quarterbacks in his class coming in, and you see how well that played out. And of course, he's transferring, he's going in the transfer portal. He said it ain't about money, it's about trying to get to a team where he can compete for the college football playoffs. And he definitely will not be able to do that at Nebraska, especially not when you got all those other Big Ten teams ahead of them. But I'm going to go with Utah in this one as well. I think they're going to play really physical and really gritty like they always do and go ahead and pull out that victory. Our man Parlay Poe said, I wanted a young guy from Arizona State, but the way Urban Liar is talking about Willingham, I love it. But dude, 66 years old, and it's one of the portal opened on the second. So we had to do something quick. Yeah, you had to get somebody in there quick because the portal was about to open, and they had to go ahead and get somebody in that spot. I think Cal Willingham is a really good coach. I think he fits the mold of Michigan because Michigan wants to play physical football. But I think at the same time, Cal Whittingham can find him an offensive coordinator who can maybe open it up a little bit more than what you've seen in the past couple of years with Sharon Moore and Harbaugh. So I think that they're going to be in pretty good shape with Cal Whittingham for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Our man, old Texas Tech man 9144 says, Big 12 rules. BYU kicks Georgia Tech's butt. Houston kicks LSU's butt. TCU kicks USC's butt. Big 12 better get some respect now. Well, old Texas Tech man 9144, we all respect your opinion and all that good stuff, but it's bowl season, bro. It's bowl season. You can hang that on the mantle though because they did win those games. But at the same time, how much stock are you really taking in these bowl games, in the matchups outside of the college football playoffs? But we get your point, and that is true. Those teams in the Big 12 did win those games over some really worthy opponents. Some really worthy opponents. We glad to see you in the chat too. We was hoping that you was going to be in here today.
Yeah.
We can hear something about your Texas Tech team that's going to be playing tomorrow. We're going to also do a show tomorrow, and with those games that's going to be taking place on New Year's Day. The last game we got on the slate before we get into some of the questions in the chat is number 10 Miami versus number 2 Ohio State. How do y'all see this game going? Is Miami going to be able to score enough points on that Ohio State defense to pull out this victory?
They playing here today, right?
No, they're playing in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas.
See, now I've been working too much. I forgot where they was playing in this game, but I got my eyes on this game because I was looking at the last 10 games. I was kind of thinking how I could really narrow this game down. You talking about Fletcher, you talking about Jackson, 2 running backs over 1,000. Talk about Beck, you talk about Julian, both respectively top quarterbacks in college football right now, based on their resume. You talking about trenches, you talk about secondary. Ohio State has that secondary. Trenches is close, and I'm going to give that edge to Miami. Then you got Bain, who's a game wrecker, and he's the type of player that could wreck a game like today, just with his presence. And then if his counterpart on the opposite side get loose, shout out to KT and Justin, your Hurricanes have made the playoff. They got in and they doing what they do, and everyone else up there that's a Hurricane fan. But for Ohio State, I think this game is close. It's not like what they thought years ago. Ohio State win this game. I think if they, like I always see them in games like a game today, they get a run, as in Jackson, to get a stretch and get a touchdown, you can see a barrage of points with this OSU team. They get pressure on Beck. It's over with early. Ohio State 34-17.
Yeah, SEC Sean said, first he said, Miami wins in a close one. Then he said, wait, I meant Miami lose in a close one. And our man Parlay Post said, OSU in a blowout. Our man Jet Life said, I expect Miami's defense to show up. I'm interested to see how our secondary holds up. And can they control Bain Jr.?
Yeah.
It's going to be a challenge. Don't sleep on the U. I feel like Miami has some things that they have to do in order to be in this game. You got to make sure that your two bookends, Mesidor and Bain, have to be able to get organic pressure on Julian Sain to keep his timing off, to keep him from being able to just sit back there in the pocket comfortably. They got to make him move. They got to throw his timing off. If those two guys can do that organically without having to send a lot of blitzes, they can be in really good shape because then they can use extra people on the back end to control those dynamic wide receivers for Ohio State. Miami's defensive tackles, you got to control their interior. You can't allow them to be able to get to run the ball with Bo Jackson in between those tackles. They got to be able to handle that. Because if you run that Mesidor, you can make some things happen and run that Mesidor. Running that Bain isn't such a good idea. But you can run at Mesidor. So they might be able to make some things happen that way. Miami offensively against Ohio State's defense, they have to figure out a way to run the football. And I think defensively, Ohio State, that might be their weakest thing defensively, is they do not stop the run as well as you would expect them to. A team can continue to run the football and not get away from it if they don't allow Ohio State to score a lot of points. If Ohio State doesn't jump out to a big lead on you, then you can still stick with your run game. And Miami is going to have to hope that that's what they can do in this game, is keep running the ball throughout this game, because eventually they can make some things happen in the run game. But they also got to make sure that they got a package ready for that dynamic. What's his name? Malachi Lee? Is that his name?
Yeah.
They got to have a package for him. He got to get his share of touches. You got to find a way to scheme him open. If you can get him on a linebacker or safety in space, you got to make that thing happen for him. And you got to make things easy for Carson Beck. You can't put it on Carson Beck's shoulders. Otherwise, you can cancel Christmas that is already passed. So I think Miami has a chance in this game to keep it close and make it interesting at the end, but they really are going to have to do it from the defensive side of the football to stay in this thing. Otherwise, Ohio State will go ahead and blow them out. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a really, really close game. I think both teams are going to come with their A game, and it's going to come down to whoever has that last possession is what I'm thinking.
Like, I know in the last time Ohio State played last week, a few weeks ago in the Big Ten Championship, I picked them to beat Indiana. And the crazy thing, I looked at some of the big games we've had, minus the Texas game when I pick Ohio State for some reason, they lose. And this is just me even over the years. So this Miami team is scary. I think when you think about Fletcher, the way he played that first game, everybody, I don't think anybody seen that coming, but Miami knows the capabilities. They know Ohio State can't stop the run. That's one thing we do know. But can they press up against the run against a team like Miami and put downs down there to put a stop on Fletcher? And, that's one of the biggest things for me. If Fletcher gets 60 yards at halftime, I think this could be a scary game because I think you go in a halftime and you got to make adjustments. But respectively with Ohio State, if they can run the ball, that gives them more of an offensive onslaught. As we know, when they get to the playoff, they unload a playbook that we're not used to seeing, formations that we don't see. And we know they have Smitty from Old Block Folk. We cannot forget that. And we got to respect the fact that they can possibly be on another path for what they did last season. So we don't know. This Miami team is dangerous. I think if you asking for a game that you must watch, must see, because you're gonna see a great game down to possibly the wire, even though I picked it 34-17, just having some quick thoughts. This gonna be a closer game than I think. I'm gonna still go with Ohio State, but I think this is gonna be a close game.
You want to add your statements, SEC Sean, or you want me to read them off?
We'll try if it's working.
You sound very good.
I've been jumping between the internet, my computer, and my phone back and forth. So if it sounded good right now, then we'll go ahead and go through it. I mean, Miami has to run the ball. They can't put it on Carson Beck. He can't be the be all end all for this game. My theory on this game is that Ohio State, they have to run the ball too, but they also have to utilize the quick pass game. You can't have Saying sitting back there for 4 or 5 seconds holding the ball waiting on deep shots. He won't have that kind of time. Not against this D line. This D line is nasty. I saw it firsthand up close against what A&M had one of the better offensive lines in college football, and Miami just abused it. Like I said, Indiana sacked Saying 5 times, and Miami's D line's better than Indiana's. So we're gonna see how that plays out. I do think Ohio State wins. I know Miami is one of the programs that has had a lot of success in history, but it's been a while since they've been on this stage. This Ohio State team's used to this. Being said, I mean, I could see Miami upsetting them, but I think, if you play this game 10 times, I think Ohio State wins it 8 out of 10. We'll just see how it all plays out in the end, but I'll go with Ohio State in a close one. Less than a touchdown game. So, but I would not be shocked at all if Miami does pull the upset.
The crazy thing about this game is just knowing the fact that Crystal Ball have not crystal balled as we spoke on. He's, kept this Miami team right where they need to be. They've constantly won games on this back end of the season. And I think when you look at their losses now at this point in the season, wow, we see why they have them in the playoff. I think they're a dangerous team. And the reason I say that because their back's been against the wall since halfway through the season when no one felt they should be in a playoff, even after wins, that they had this season as they continued to win. So we do got to give this Miami team credit as they are competing against the reigning champs in Ohio State. So I think Malachi is a big part of what Miami want to do today, as well as Fletcher. I think having Carson Beck, and I said this last week, I think that's a difference maker when you get at these points in the season. You're in the playoff. Must I repeat? He's won a few of these games, not just a few. He's got championships to prove it as well. So when you have,
but he didn't play. Not to cut you off, Moss, but he didn't play. He wasn't the quarterback. He was the backup on those Georgia teams.
He played in a bowl game. He played in one
in bowl games, but he played in one
championship game.
He played in one. No, he may have played in it. Yeah, I think the one they blew TCU out in, but he was the backup to Stetson Bennett. He wasn't the starter in those games. That's what I'm saying. The only game he started in the playoffs has been the game, I want to say, no, he didn't even start it last year. Yeah, he started last year.
Started last year.
No, he was injured. Gunnar Stockton started that game because he was out with an injury because he got injured in the SEC championship game against Texas.
So like for me, it's more so just the same thing still. I mean, his experience, all of that plays a part in my whole about Carson Beck. So just I still having him there makes a difference. I mean,
No doubt. I mean, he does have experience. There's no lie. He has experience. I'm not arguing that point at all.
I just think, and then I mean, that's really the main point in what they're doing. I think in Miami, he's playing that part at quarterback, being exactly what they need. As long as they can be steady in that, I think they can definitely get a win.
You know, I think Miami's coaching staff understands that. Listen, we got a quarterback who has experience, who can manage games. We just can't expect him to go out there and win games for us. We've already seen that when you put the ball in his hands and he has to make plays, it comes down to, is he going to make the play or is he going to turn the ball over? And we all can agree that more often than not, when the game is on the line and he has to make a play, we've seen many times where he has turned the ball over. And I think they understand that now that they've been in the college football playoffs. They understand that we cannot put this game on our quarterback shoulders. We got to have a run game and get the ball to our talented athletes and let them win the game for us, not put it on Carson Beck to do. And I think if they can continue to do that and they can keep Ohio State from scoring at will, they can be in this game. Because I believe that organically they can get pressure on Julian Sain, which we have seen. Julian Sain has been lights out all season. He has. But in the instances where we have seen that whenever you can get pressure on him, you can neutralize their passing game. And that's really with any quarterback. But we know that for sure you can do that with Julian Sain because we've seen it in a couple of games this season, especially when he didn't have Carnell Tate, and especially when he didn't have Jeremiah Smith, and we definitely seen it against Indiana. Indiana had a really good formula for putting pressure on him. I think that Miami can take something from that and make that thing happen. Do I think Ohio State wins this game? I do. I think they win a really good, close game, and I think it could possibly come down to whoever has the ball last to either run out the clock or to either score and get the walk-off score, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown. I think it's going to come down to that, but they cannot put this ball in Beck's hand. You're exactly right, Parlay Pro. Beck will get that ball up. Old Texas Tech man 9144 is going with the Buckeyes. Our man Jet Life is going with the Buckeyes. And our man Postgame said if Ohio State can run the ball, it's a wrap quick. I agree. If they can run the football and they can go and do the other stuff that they have to do, because they're going to slow down that pass rush at that point, they're going to be hard to beat. But I think Miami has the athletes that if they could just organically get pressure on Julian Sain, they can leave guys on the back end to cover those wide receivers. The more help they can have back there on their wide receivers and get pressure with just 4, they can be in really, really good shape. And they have to be able to run the football. They can't abandon the run. They got to establish it, and they got to force Ohio State to not be able to substitute their defensive linemen the way they want to. You got to be able to go tempo sometimes on Ohio State and force them defensive linemen to run sideline to sideline sometimes to make tackles to tire them out. If you can do that, you can take advantage of what I think is the only weakness in Ohio State's game is they're not as efficient as stopping the run game against a team that can run the football well. We got a couple of questions in the chat I would like for us to tackle. Let me get to them real quick. What's your thoughts on what we have seen so far this bowl season? We talked a little bit about that. Do y'all got any other thoughts about what we've seen so far in this bowl season?
No, not really. Just, I mean, I like the games. I mean, I know how we feel about them. Not seeing a lot of players play, seeing some players play, like SEC, Sean said, some players that was going to those bigger schools playing for some of these smaller schools. But everything so far, man, has lived up to what it should be. You know, we getting what we should see, and even more great matchups to come as we see today.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's been some good matchups, but I've watched more. I like more so far of the bowl games that have come up of the smaller schools, watching those kids because most of those players play. Whether it be trying to play to get a bigger deal next year at a bigger school or whatever the case may be. I just, some of the bigger schools, there's just, like I said, too many opt outs. Bowl season's not what it used to be. Um, So, I mean, I prefer the playoff over the bowl system to determine the national title, but it's kind of killed bowl season a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, SEC Sean. I think the smaller schools that were matched up in bowl games played a lot more competitively than what we've seen in some of these other games. Now, of course, the more better the better matchups between some of the Power Four schools have been some pretty good contests. Like we've seen a good contest last night with Illinois and Tennessee. We've seen a good contest last night with USC and TCU. When it comes to those kind of matchups, it has been some really good football that we've been able to see. As far as some of the other stuff, man, you get some players who opt out, who you know are going to probably get drafted in the NFL on day 3, and they're not playing. I'm like, dude, are you serious? But if the Senior Bowl calls you, you're gonna go play in that, but you ain't gonna play in your bowl game. And are they doing that because they don't want to take away from a younger person behind them having the opportunity to take advantage of those 15 practices? Or are they doing it because they really think that they're going to go work on improving their stock in the NFL by now starting to train? So it's kind of confusing to me because I'm like, I'm going to take a player from Texas, for instance. Love him to death. But I just don't understand why he's not playing in this bowl game. Ethan Burke. Ethan Burke is going to get drafted in the NFL. Yes, he is. But he's probably a day 3 pick. Why are you not playing in this game? Are you not playing in it because you're not going to be there next year and you want to give Lance Jackson an opportunity to take advantage of these 15 practices? Or are you doing it because you think you're going to go all of a sudden work on some kind of skill that when you go to the combine, if you get invited, that you're going to show out in the 3-cone drill or something like that? I'm like, dude, what NFL teams have already seen about you, they've already seen. I understand that. But at the same time, you have an opportunity to play in this last game with your brothers on your team. Why would you opt out of that when you already know I'm probably going to be a day 3 pick? So that kind of was confusing for me with some of these players, man. Why are you opting out when you know you're not going to be a first-round draft pick or even a day 2 draft pick?
That's a good point because I think sometimes when you play in a bowl game, you can actually go from a third day to a first day, late first round pick. I think with money involved in this NIL, you just don't know. They might be paying to play their games too. Just throwing that out there, but you just never know with the day and age that we in. But I would love to see a player that's getting drafted, you know, looking at a day 3. But if you play in your bowl game, you might go against a team that's playing a different type of scheme that the system might fit this NFL team for you defensively, the way you're playing against this offense that's coming at you. So I mean, a lot of those things, you know, go into play. I know they got to train and get ready, but I don't know, man. I'm trying to put my mark on everything possible. I'm trying to go out in the bowl game and play. That's my last chance to play, get that college experience. I'm out there with my boys. That's just me.
But these players have heard it so long that if you play in this game and get injured, it hurts your draft stock. And they heard that for years. So that's what really started all this opting out of bowl games was, oh, I don't want to get injured, and ruin my draft stock. So, I mean, but like to your point, if you're a third day draft pick, I mean, what's the difference? You're either going to be a third day draft pick or you're going to get injured in a bowl game and probably be signed as an undrafted free agent. I mean, what's really the difference besides a little bit of money, maybe, to be honest? So, um, I don't get the whole opt out. I don't like it. That's why it's not so great to me.
Yeah, that's my point too, SEC Sean. If you know that you're going to be a day 3 draft pick, I think you should be playing in your bowl game. That's just my opinion. But I also agree with what Post Game is saying. Y'all got to understand these guys have to train for the combine. Yes, if you're a first, or if you've gotten a first day draft grade or a second day draft grade, you're gonna be a top 3 round pick. I can get with that because I know that a player like Malik Muhammad, who opted out from Texas, needs to improve his 40 time. I get it. You got to go do what you got to do. I'm okay with seeing these young players get in there, and I'm okay with Malik Muhammad going and improving his 40 time. I'm okay with that because he's going to probably be a day 1 or day 2 pick, most likely a day 2 pick. I'm cool with that. But guys who I think that are going to be a day 3 pick, rounds 4 all the way to 7, I think you should be out there with your teammates playing. And they might have some other reasons, like I said, why they're not playing and why they opted out, because maybe they want this young guy who's going to have a chance to start next year. Maybe you want to have him get all of those reps with the first team to get him prepared for next team. You're taking one for the team at that point, I guess. But I would have liked to see my man Ethan Burke. I would have liked to see Michael Taft play in this game, man, because I feel like both of those guys, being Austin kids, should have played in this game, man, one last time for the Texas Longhorns, just for their legacy, especially when you know you're going to be a day 3 pick. That's my point on that.
Okay, here's my rebuttal to post game. They need to train for the combine. How much is the kid? We'll use your guy Muhammad, right? Okay, so let's just say he runs a 4.440 right now. How much is he going to increase that 4.4 over the next 2 weeks that he could have been practicing? Is he going to become a 4.2 guy over 2 weeks? I don't think so. So the training for the combine, you still have plenty of time between the end of the football season, bowl game, and the combine to train. That's I don't find that as a good enough excuse. These guys are elite athletes. What I'm hoping happens is these NIL contracts come up with clauses like if you're going to be paid as an employee of the university now, you must show up for work every day. I can't just say I'm not going to go into work one day and expect to have my job over and I can't take 2 weeks off of work without having vacation time. I can't just not show up. So I'm hoping there's clauses in some of these contracts moving forward that, part of your structure is you playing in every game the team plays, including bowl games. So, but that's my thing. I mean, I get the training, but I mean, it's 2 weeks. I mean, what are you really going to improve over 2 weeks' time? How much can you improve? I'd love to see a metric on it that says you can increase your 40 time by 0.2 of a second, or you can increase your, bench press reps of 225 by 14 over the next 2 weeks. I'd like to see the metrics that support that because I don't believe it.
Yeah, I think we all agree with you on that post game. Of course, we know these guys want to improve their draft stock. I guess our pushback is within this 15 practice window, how much can you improve over that time span as opposed to waiting until after it's done and then you go into your training? Because the combine isn't until what, April? May, somewhere around there, where you still have maybe 3 months of training that you can do to get ready for it. But I agree. I think guys should improve their draft stock as much as they can, especially once they've gotten their draft grade back from the NFL. And if they got an opportunity to take themselves from an early second round draft pick to a late first round draft pick, or a early third round draft pick to a late second round draft pick, I think they should invest the time in doing that. I just don't know if that window of time really affects them or helps them that much, like my man SEC Shine is saying. But I agree with you. You don't want to go to that combine and be a 4-6 guy, especially not playing wide receiver or cornerback. Running back sometimes can get that off, but as a DB and as a wide receiver, you definitely don't want to be running 4-6s. Yeah, it is more than just a 40 time post, but we also know that that 40 time is very critical as well. Uh, and I agree with you. Yeah, there's a lot of technique to running a 40 that has to train, and trust me, it's been yeah, you've seen it at the combine where guys have trained on their technique of running that 40-yard dash, man, and it really has made them some extra dollars and cents, that's for sure. Are there any bowl games out there on your bucket list that you would like to attend that you know that your team could possibly make it to in the future that you want to try to put yourself in position to go to?
Can I say an ACC championship for my Seminoles right now? Not a bowl game, but nah, I would say not being my team. Of course, bowl game I would like to go to, man. Of course, would be the granddaddy of them all, national championship. You know, regardless of who's there, just any bowl game in this sense. I would say just the experience of a bowl game. Everyone know I experienced going to South Bend this year, just a few months ago, and I think the college football atmosphere is different. You know, it's different than the regular sports game, regular basketball game. But I think when you talk about bowl, you getting a bigger fan base. You getting people that's lived this, that's breathed this. You get the feeling in the stadium. So for me, it's just any game. You know, any college football game, just getting that feeling in that stadium with that home crowd, seeing how they are, you know, for their team, rooting their team on, and seeing how we are crazed fans about our team, but seeing someone else have that same energy for their team is just, man, it's uncanny, and just seeing it is impeccable. It's great. It's wonderful. It's everything you could ask for. So for me, just seeing any college football game, but the Miami Ohio State, of course, I think that's the one I would want to see right now in this playoff.
I mean, the easy answer for this is the Rose Bowl. That's the easy answer to this whole question. Um, just the biggest whole wide spectacle. Thank you. Um, I mean, I've been to the Cotton Bowl, not the new Cotton Bowl at AT&T Stadium, the original Cotton Bowl, where they play the Red River rival game, and that is a great atmosphere. I went there back in the early '90s. We went every year when A&M was playing. I mean, they played Florida State in the Cotton Bowl, which was the de facto national championship game. We played Notre Dame there, where the infamous "we stole Tim Brown's towel" game. Um, you know, there's just so many different things that the Cotton Bowl, the original Cotton Bowl, was one of the greatest of them all. But I'd love to go to like the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, just some of those different ones. I'd be excited to go to um, believe it or not, the Sun Bowl, just to go visit El Paso and just the
Yeah,
scenery. San Antonio to the Alamo Bowl, where all of the Riverwalk and the stuff. I like to go to bowl games that have something fun to do in the cities.
Would love to see that blue field in Boise.
Yeah, I mean, going to a baseball game at Fenway or a football game at Fenway Park.
Yeah, great.
Stuff like that you don't get to see.
See every day.
So
Yeah.
those are some of the ones I'd go to.
Yeah, I agree with you both, man. I mean, the Rose Bowl has to be at the top of the list, even though that's not probably a bowl game that Texas is going to end up in very much here in the near future, even though they went back to back years back in 2004, 2005. It's probably not the way the format is set up now that they will probably end up at. But if they did, I would definitely like to go to that game. We had an opportunity to go to the Alamo Bowl a couple of years ago when Texas played Washington, and uh, we didn't want to get stranded, so we did. So we didn't go because at that time the weather was really, really bad, and they advised us. They said, "Listen, yeah, you might get to this point, but you're gonna get stuck right there. You're not gonna even make it to the Alamo Bowl." So we didn't. So we didn't go, even though we were slated to go. We had everything booked and ready. I would like to go to if Texas makes it to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium to that bowl game. I think it's the Peach Bowl. If they ever make it to that one again, I would definitely want to go there and play in that one. Of course, the Cotton Bowl. I got to make a Cotton Bowl. I had an opportunity to go to a Cotton Bowl back when Texas played Mississippi State. Ricky Williams last year. I had an opportunity to go and didn't go. Had opportunity to go to the Fiesta Bowl when they had Cooper and they played Ohio State played there.
Mm.
Didn't go. And so, those opportunities that I've had that I've let slip through my fingers, I'm not letting them slip through my fingers ever again. We are going.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's an experience, I think, and you know, I say the granddaddy it just throws me in the mindset of hearing Keith Jackson. One of the main reasons I really watch college football, just hearing his voice, I can still hear it echo throughout watching college football today. So that's why I say the granddaddy of them all, which I think today is possibly, Rose Bowl being one of them that it was then, but the way the national championship is now. So, man, it's just crazy experience.
Let me lay this last question out for y'all, man, and everybody that's in the chat, and give me y'all's feedback on what y'all think about this layout in terms of the bowl games for the future. Would you like to see whoever makes the bowl committee, whoever they are, outside of the college football playoffs, would you like to see them go ahead and rank the importance of the bowls after the bowls that are considered to go to the college football playoffs and just take the next top two Power Four teams, y'all play. The next two after them, y'all play. The next two after them, y'all play. And so on and so forth until you get all these Power Four schools matched up against based on where you ranked at. And it can go beyond the top 25. Would y'all like to see them go to that kind of a format to make these bowl games a little bit more interesting?
I was just about to say that. That's very interesting. We've been having so many takes on this, even SEC Sean, the playoff format as well. I think with this being towards the end of the season and playoff, I like it. I think that gives us a great look at some bowl games similar, like when they had the BCS. We get some of them bangers, even in how we call them during the season, throughout the season, even at the end of the season as well. So I kind of like it. Like,
I mean, I could see it. I mean, the my problem with it is for the teams that are so-called leftovers in the Power Four conferences, I mean, what level are we looking at? Are you looking at, the number, let's say the SEC gets two teams into the playoff. So their third team then plays like the fourth or fifth rated team out of the Big Ten. So, I mean, where are your matchups going to be to make it exciting? I mean, it's a pretty good idea. I'm one that I prefer, um, just I like the lower level, not lower level, that sounds bad, but the smaller schools, you know, playing each other. I mean, I think if you get a matchup of the Power Four conferences playing in a tournament style, you get people going to be complaining that we're getting the same matchups every year. We're getting the same matchups every year. We're getting the same matchups every year. Kind of like go back to the BCS or even the 14 playoff where people are like, it's the same four teams every year. So they expanded it, right? I think that's what you would get in a scenario like that. But I mean, instead of like the teams, like instead of involving the group of five teams in the playoff, why not take like the James Madison and put them against USC? Take Tulane and put them against somebody else, in a bowl game, a Power Four school. See how they do. So that I'd be more in a favor of something like that than just the same old, because you're going to run into a situation where teams are going to be the same, and you're going to get something like Michigan and A&M playing 3 years in a row in the same bowl game, and people are going to get bored of it.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I could see that. I would like to see them come up with some more favorable matchups, man. Some more interesting matchups. However they decide to do it. I mean, I think they do as good as they can do right now with the way they got it set up. Um, we gotten some good matchups. I mean, it would be really great if they didn't have opt outs. Like I think this Michigan Texas game would be a really good matchup if they both didn't have the opt outs and didn't have the other scenario swirling around both programs. Texas getting rid of some coaches and Michigan with the situation that they have. I think this could be a really good matchup. I think it's being overshadowed by those other things. But anytime you got a Michigan and Texas matchup, nothing but good can come from that, right? And I think that the Illinois and Tennessee game was a really good matchup too. But I think they both fell evenly in the rankings, pretty close anyway. Illinois was a really good team in the Big Ten, and Tennessee had a decent record in the SEC, but we knew their defense was horrible. But matchups like that, like today, we're gonna get Iowa and Vanderbilt. I think that's a good matchup as well. So they're actually doing something right. I just like to see them get a little bit more parity on some of them, where you don't get some of the blowouts that we've seen early in the bowl season, where some of these teams just weren't matched up correctly, in my opinion. But that's all I have in question wise in the chat. Is there anything else y'all want to discuss before we wrap up? We're going to talk tomorrow about the three other college football playoff bowl games that are going to take place on New Year's Day, along with the other bowl games that are going to be played outside of the college football playoffs. And then we're going to start talking about the NFL, their last game of the season coming up, their last week, and going into the playoffs, and some of the games this weekend that have positioning implications. Some of them even have playoff implications to them. So we're going to talk about that either on Friday or Saturday. But for today, you got anything else y'all want to discuss before we wrap up?
No, I'm pretty good. About ready to keep an eye on the games today. Like I said, I'm gonna wait and see what my internet does and whatever, and go from there. And then, anybody that tried to watch that last night, just keep your eyes open. It'll be coming up again. To get that caught back up. So, other than that, just get through this day of football, see what goes on.
Yeah, man, I'm about to try to get me a little rest. I got to work tonight. But yeah, man, make sure when SEC Shine drop the NASCAR that you go check that out. Very, very informal information, and it'll get you in the swing of things. He's telling us about the app. With that app, I'm gonna just tell you to go to the channel. Just go to his channel. Everything I'm trying to tell you, you need to hear on that channel. Like and subscribe to his channel. Matter of fact, like and subscribe to everything you see down there. WTP for life. WTP Sports Deuces, his channel on YouTube. Level Up Sports Channel is myself, Moss Berg, Moss B, Parlay Poe of the Blitzberg podcast channel. You got Post Game 86. You got City League TV. It's on Facebook as well as YouTube. And you got One Take Zay that's going to be coming. And you have SEC Shine as well. And we're going to have the great Griffey Griff on here coming soon, even more as he's getting through the schedule with his daughter, and his work schedule been pretty busy lately. But we appreciate you all tuning in every day that we see you, whether it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but through the week we do, and we appreciate it. So with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned in with the homies of the WTP Sports Dudes. This is what we do. We love it, and we're going to be coming at you with more. And stay tuned for the next conversation with Mossberg and Post coming soon.
Just quick reminder too, don't like and subscribe, of course, as Moss said, but there's also a little bell icon that if you click it will let you get notified when any of us go live. If you'll go do that on every one of our channels, you'll know we're going live. So if you want to tune into something, you'll get an alert, hey, they're live on this channel, and you can go watch it. So just hit that little bell. That'll give you all you need to know as to when we're going.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And
we appreciate everybody who has done that so far. Definitely be on the lookout for SEC Sean doing his NASCAR for Beginners Part 4, a redo on that later on this evening if he can get that going. And then also we'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to talk about those games that are going to be taking place tomorrow. So make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you know, oh, man, they're going live. I got to be there to tune in.
we appreciate it in advance, man. As we always do, man. City League TV tell us we in the building and we out. Enjoy the big game tonight. Figure out who gonna win. Come let us know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bells on as we do. Peace.
All right, peace.